Hello, everybody. I am one of the lead members of Gworld's creative team, and I'm here to give you a little bit of info about Gworld to get ahead of some of the speculation and put to rest some misconceptions that the community may have about Gworld, and also just share some of our excitement. For those of you that were at ThetaCon, some of this might already actually be familiar to you. I would like to start by talking about Gworld's vision of the metaverse. So we're not creating a metaverse here. We're creating part of the metaverse. So the metaverse isn't a place. It's here and now. It's in the palm of your hand, on your wrist, under your fingers, and every device that you own that is feeding the connected world. It is the real world growing deeper and more varied interconnections with and throughout the digital world. And so what is Gworld? Well, it's a persistent world, multi-platform, interoperable, massively multiplayer online role-playing game within a participatory, long-form, unfolding narrative. So that's a lot. We're going to go through this, but let's start with what Gworld is not. It's not another Sandbox or Decentraland. It's not another Second Life. We don't need to duplicate these. We are not building an empty world to sell land, although there will be land to be owned. We're not trying to ride the metaverse hype train, but we recognize the emerging potential of the concept to drive a new long-term multi-product franchise that has Web3 fundamentals at its core. You can still call it a metaverse if you want, but that term has been watered down and remixed to such a degree in the past year that we find it troublesome to use as a descriptor. So we like this one. It's pretty dense, so let's unpack it, starting at the bottom. The simplified main narrative thread of Gworld is this. The G-Twins are traveling to a distant planet to build a new civilization, and it blossoms out from there. We can expand on that through the concept of the participatory long-form unfolding narrative. If you missed ThetaCon, then you did not experience the Gworld Recruitment Center, and you may not have seen the brochure that we handed out. The Gworld experience at ThetaCon was where we gave a first entry point into the story of Gworld. In other words, the story has already begun, even before you step into the digital. This is what we mean by the long-form narrative. We have to gather recruits, train them for the mission, travel to Gworld, make it habitable, build a functional society, develop that society as we collectively see fit, and beyond. And participatory because you can participate in this narrative every step of the way, not to mention that a lot of it relies on you to drive the story. Persistent world, massively multiplayer, online role-playing game. This may be slightly off-putting to non-gamers, but this actually encompasses a lot of the popular conceptions of the metaverse. But ours has play-to-earn, tokenized governance, and decentralized ownership at its core. And no less important is that Gworld is playable. There are goals to accomplish, resources to grind, and a storyline to advance through your collective agency. It isn't just a place waiting for the users to give it value. And last, multi-platform interoperable. We aren't just targeting different devices here, but rather we're redefining the scope of an MMORPG experience by leveraging the strengths of different platforms and allowing different products to directly influence each other. And this can be supercharged by leveraging the full functionality of NFTs. So that's a super high level summary of what we're building. In other words, it's a big game that will take years to unfold, is potentially endless, that takes place partially in a virtual world, partially on your phone, and partially IRL, where all of the parts work independent of each other, but a greater experience relies on their interdependence. And that's another mouthful, so just call it a metaverse. And let's dig in a little more detail. So I want to clarify something, because when we talk about Gworld, it can get a little confusing, because there are actually two Gworlds. Gworld is a place. It is a fictional planet that will serve as the initial map of the unfolding MMORPG. It's a planet that you'll be able to explore and develop through your G-Twin. It's also an experience. It encompasses games on multiple platforms, AR, VR, casual, mobile, resources for developers to build games and wearables, in-person interactions and events like the Gworld Recruitment Center, and many other developments to come. And linking them all together is your G-Twin. They're your personal Gworld avatar. You'll be able to use them within different Gworld offerings. You'll be able to use your G-Twin to navigate on Gworld, play in our mobile and VR games, and obviously set it as your PFP, and you'll own your G-Twin as an NFT with all of the perks that this affords. And while outside and even from within the crypto community, there's a lot of disdain held for NFTs, there is so much potential to revolutionize how we think about gaming. Like the G-Twin skill tree, for example. Certain skills are required to unlock features of Gworld and level up your G-Twin. these stats are stored within your G-Twin NFT. This allows you to meaningfully use your G-Twin across platforms, so you can train your G-Twin in one game so that they have skills to use in another. This training will primarily be done within GOps. These are a set of ancillary games that allow people to participate in Gworld from anywhere. They will be available on various platforms from mobile to VR and directly in the upcoming GTX browser. In addition to being used to train your G-Twin, they'll be used to unlock new skills, items, and functionality within the larger Gworld ecosystem. An example of how this works. We demoed the GOP mining mission mobile game at ThetaCon. So in it, you drive our quadricopter ORV hybrid to collect raw materials and deliver them to the facility where they're processed. And by succeeding in this game, you can unlock the ability for your G-Twin to drive in Gworld. You can think of it a bit like a driving test to get your license. So when terraforming missions begin, the G-Twins that can drive will play an integral role in making Gworld habitable. So G-Twins that haven't completed this training will be unable to participate in these missions as a driver. So in order to successfully terraform Gworld, we're going to need to train a lot of drivers. Another example is the upcoming VR tower defense game, GOps Guardians. Here you can build your G-Twin shooting skills and resource management skills. And these skills will be necessary to harvest the water trapped in ice within the planet's rings or to mine specific resources on Gworld. So now that we have some foundational Gworld concepts laid out, let's look at the larger unfolding narrative in more detail. Starting with recruitment. So in addition to traditional channels for building a user at base, we're also incorporating in-narrative recruitment mechanisms, like the Gworld Recruitment Center at ThetaCon. So here we introduced people to Gworld through print materials, site-specific gaming events, and a sneak peek at the G-Twin creator. So as Gworld expands, so can the GRC as a traveling touchpoint to engage many potential new user bases. Training mostly occurs within GOps and will be where you primarily level up your G-Twin prior to boarding. Again, GOps will target mobile, VR, desktop, and AR experiences. Training overlaps with recruitment as they will serve to reach an audience outside of crypto and bring new people into Gworld and, by extension, the Theta ecosystem. Once we have enough recruits prepared, we will leave for Gworld. You will be able to reserve your own private room on the ship traveling to Gworld. This will be the first phase of the main MMORPG experience. You can enter your room in VR or through your browser and continue training for the missions ahead. During travel, the ship will open for exploration. You'll be able to move around, visit areas, meet people, purchase goods, etc., all while en route to Gworld. Once we reach our destination, the pods will detach and land on Gworld and terraforming will begin. There will be playable missions to game out the mechanism of terraforming Gworld, and this will take some time. There will also be recon missions to develop a map of the planet. Different areas of the pod will become accessible and travel between pods will be available as more ships arrive. Once we've established a livable atmosphere, the pods will be connected and form our cities. Land will be allocated based on domain ownership, and depending on where your land is located and what resources it contains, you can choose to develop it in different ways. From here, the main mechanics, many found in traditional RPGs, will build the economy of Gworld. And as it does, goods will need to be crafted and sold in shops. Open source content development platforms and APIs will allow for third-party integrations. The asset builder will allow users to craft their resources into Gworld NFT assets. And there will be regular on-world missions and events. So there was some chatter about people expecting Gworld to drop at ThetaCon. But I hope we've made it clear that the vision and scope of Gworld is beyond dropping an empty open world and asking people to participate. So what the creative team has been doing behind the scenes is developing this forward-looking narrative, planning the unfolding stages, working with AI, our concept artists, and 3D models to generate our unique assets that define the look of Gworld, building and understanding the plan for the long-term vision and development of a complete and engaging ecosystem, plans of which we've only touched on here. Imagine if a video game that you played 10 years ago still had relevance today. If something that you crafted from a scarce resource in 2010 could unlock an aspect of a virtual experience that you engage in today. This is where we are headed. It is vast. So what's next? The creative team is currently working on 3 products. We are building GOps Guardians, which is a VR tower defense game with a unique twist that's targeting the Quest App Lab and beyond. The G-Twin Creator is where you'll be able to create your own custom G-Twin and mint them as an NFT. You can think of them as your persistent transferable profile for all Gworld products. The Meme Factory will allow you to create images starring your G-Twin without the knowledge required to manipulate your 3D model directly. The other Gworld teams have been working on the tech that, along with the Data Edge network, Gworld will leverage to become unstoppable. This includes the crypto-forward GTX browser that will create a Web3 first portal to the next frontier of the internet. The GTX wallet, which will seamlessly integrate with the GTX browser and other Gworld developments. And we have our own unstoppable domains, .tfuel and .gworld. These will integrate with the GTX wallet and unlock aspects of Gworld that cannot be accessed any other way. So I hope that cleared some things up. We're really excited about what we're working on and wanted to share some of that excitement with you. So feel free to reach out to us about what you've seen here on the new Gworld Discord channel on the Gpool Discord. And have a good day.